There is an animal alive right now that has never died, not its species. This specific animal, the one alive today, may be the same one that was alive before your great-great-grandmother was born. And scientists have confirmed it is biologically impossible for it to die of old age. Its name is Turritopsis dohrnii. It is smaller than a pinky fingernail. It lives in the ocean. It looks like a tiny translucent jellyfish, fragile, almost invisible, drifting through water with no brain, no heart, no awareness of what it is. And yet, it has quietly solved the problem that every living thing on Earth has failed to solve for 4 billion years. It does not age. It reverses. Here's what that actually means. Every cell in your body has a clock. Scientists call it the Hayflick limit, named after the biologist Leonard Hayflick, who discovered in 1961 that human cells can only divide a fixed number of times before they stop, around 50 divisions. Then they enter a state called senescence. They don't die immediately. They just stop working properly. They stop repairing. They stop renewing. And slowly, the system they belong to begins to fail. That is aging. That is what kills almost everything alive. Turritopsis dohrnii doesn't have that problem. When this animal is stressed, when it's injured, starving, or simply old, it does something that has no equivalent anywhere else in biology. Its cells don't die. They change. The mature adult body folds back into itself and reverts to its earliest stage of life, a polyp, a biological infant, and then it grows up again. Same animal, new body. The clock, reset to zero. Scientists call this transdifferentiation. It means a fully specialized cell, a muscle cell, a nerve cell, a skin cell, abandons what it was and becomes something else entirely. In humans, this is essentially impossible. Once your cells are assigned a role, they keep it until they die. In Turritopsis dohrnii, that rule simply doesn't apply. The first scientist to document this was a German researcher named Christian Sommer. In 1988, he was collecting marine samples in the Mediterranean when he noticed something strange. The jellyfish in his tank, instead of dying, were getting younger. He thought he'd made an error. He hadn't. What he was watching was a process that had probably been happening in oceans across the world for millions of years. Completely unnoticed. Now here's where it gets strange. Because this discovery wasn't immediately celebrated, it was filed away, quietly noted, partially ignored. It took another decade before a researcher named Shin Kubota at Kyoto University dedicated his career to studying the animal in depth. Kubota has kept colonies of Turritopsis dohrnii in his lab for years. He has watched them die and reverse, over and over. He has stated publicly that if the right conditions are met, there is no biological reason this animal cannot live forever. Let that settle for a moment. Not a long lifespan, not a slow aging process. No aging process. An animal that, under the right conditions, simply does not have to stop. So why aren't there billions of them covering every ocean on Earth? Because biological immortality doesn't mean invincibility. Turritopsis dohrnii can still be eaten. It can still be killed by disease, by pollution, by a fish that doesn't care how remarkable it is. The immortality only activates when the animal has time to respond to stress. In the wild, most of them are eaten before they ever get the chance to reverse. The mechanism exists. The world just doesn't always allow it. But here's the part that matters. The part that goes beyond a small jellyfish in the Mediterranean. Scientists studying transdifferentiation aren't just marveling at an unusual animal. They are tearing apart the mechanism itself, trying to understand exactly how a cell forgets what it is and becomes something new. Because if we understand that, if we understand how to make a human cell reverse its specialization, we are holding the theoretical key to something that has never existed in human history. Not immortality exactly, but something close. The ability to reset damaged cells, to reverse the process that causes organ failure, to treat degenerative diseases not by slowing them down, but by running the clock backward. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the slow cellular collapse that kills most people, not with a single event, but with 1,000 quiet failures happening simultaneously over decades. We are not there yet. The gap between a jellyfish resetting in a tank and a human cell being therapeutically reversed is enormous, but the gap exists now in a way it didn't before 1988. before a German researcher noticed something strange in a tank and didn't throw it back. There's something else worth sitting with here. This animal has been in the ocean for millions of years, silently reversing, silently surviving, while every other species, including every human being who ever lived, accepted that death was the one rule nobody breaks. We built entire religions around that acceptance. We wrote philosophy, poetry, music about the fact that everything ends. We called it the human condition. And this creature, smaller than your fingernail, with no brain to contemplate any of it, has been quietly doing the one thing we decided was impossible. It didn't announce it. It didn't evolve loudly. It just kept reversing in cold, dark water, completely alone, while the rest of life on Earth moved in one direction only. You will age. Your cells are already past some of those 50 divisions. The clock is running. That part hasn't changed. But somewhere in an ocean right now, a transparent animal the size of a grain of rice just started over.